Welcome to Speakeasy Spirits. It's Mardi Gras time, and this time of year, there's only one cocktail that comes to mind. The Sazerac. This is a New Orleans classic, a close cousin to the Old Fashioned, and I'm going to show you how to make one. There's a lot of myths and legends surrounding the Sazerac. Like anything dealing with New Orleans history, there's a ton of embellishment, and it's hard to tell fact from fiction. What we do know is that in 1795, Antoine Peychaud came to America as a child. His family had owned a coffee plantation on the Isle of San Domingo, and they were fleeing a slave rebellion. Peychaud grew up in New Orleans, became a pharmacist, and developed his own type of bitters, Peychaud's bitters. Back then, bitters were usually developed by pharmacists because they were considered medicinal. And the best way to take your medicine is with some sugar and a good shot of booze. So it wasn't long before his bitters were being used in local bars, what New Orleans called coffee houses. Somewhere in the 1850s, the Merchant Exchange Coffee House developed a cocktail called the Sazerac, but it's nothing like what I'm going to make you today. Back then, it was made with cognac, and there wasn't any absinthe in it yet. That cocktail became so popular that coffee house changed its name to the Sazerac Coffee House after the cocktail and the cognac it was made with. Through the 1860s and the 1870s, French vineyards were wiped out by an aphid. This made it very hard to get French wines and French brandies like the cognac used in that Sazerac. That's when the bar changed up the recipe and switched to an easily available American Rye Whiskey and added a dash of absinthe. And today it's that recipe that's become famous and synonymous with New Orleans. It's even been declared the state's official cocktail. I was recently in New Orleans and had a chance to tour the Sazerac Distillery and Museum. I've got my own variations on the Sazerac, but what I'm going to make you today is that exact recipe that you would get at the Sazerac house. Normally I'd start by filling my mixing glass with ice, but we're going to do things a little backwards this time because we're going to use a sugar cube as the sweetener. And since sugar integrates better into warmer liquids than colder, we're going to build the drink and then add the ice. On top of the sugar cube, we're going to use 3 to 4 dashes of Peychaud's bitters. Now this is one of the ingredients that gives this cocktail its unique flavor, so you really can't substitute any other bitters here. You really need to use Peychaud's bitters. Now we're going to break up the sugar cube with a muddler and get it to dissolve into those bitters. You could use simple syrup here instead of the sugar cube, and that's going to integrate a lot better into the drink, but in this case, we're doing it old school. To that, we're going to add 1.5 ounces of rye whiskey. For this cocktail, it really needs to be a rye. I'm going to use this Sazerac rye, but any good rye whiskey will work. I've made these with Dad's Hat and Rittenhouse Rye Bottled in Bond. Any good rye really stands up to these flavors. We need 1.5 ounces. Before we add the ice, let's give that a quick stir to mix the sugar in with the whiskey. And then we'll add our ice. Because alcohol is below the freezing temperature of water, if you stir this enough, you can actually drop the temperature to below 32 degrees and get it below freezing. And for a cocktail like this, getting it nice and cold really helps out. Sazerac is generally served in a rocks glass. I have a chilled rocks glass right here in my freezer. And to that, we're going to add our final ingredient, some absinthe. Now, I'm going to spray this on with an atomizer, but you could just pour some in here, give it a good swirl, and then dump it out. This just has a lot less waste when you spray it. It's personal preference whether you want to serve this on ice or not. If you really get this chilled enough, I don't think you really need any ice in this drink, but go ahead and add a large cube now if you want. Now we're going to strain this into our glass. And last for the garnish. It's not really a Sazerac until you add a twist of lemon. We're going to cut one nice long strip of lemon peel. I'm going to go about halfway around the lemon, maybe a little farther. We want the nice big piece of lemon here. Press that oil into the drink. Run it around the rim. You could go ahead and drop this whole peel into the drink, but I'm going to clean up the edges a little bit, make it look nice. Now we've got a nice parallelogram. We'll give that a twist and drop it into the drink. And there you have a traditional New Orleans Sazerac. If you're a fan of an old-fashioned, this is a really nice variation on that. You've got the whiskey, bitters, and sugar of an old-fashioned, but that absinthe gives it a nice herbal twist. The lemon flavors are nice and bright and really make the drink pop. This is the official cocktail of Louisiana for good reason. This is an excellent cocktail and a great way to celebrate Mardi Gras. Now I'm gonna go grab a muffalata and a slice of king cake. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.